Well, shortly we'll be going back for the 800 metres, and representing Britain in that race will be David Sharp, who's had an impressive end of season after the disappointment of not going to the Olympics. The highlight for him, though, was a lifetime best in Zurich just over a month ago.
The countryside in focus from BBC Wales. Have you ever wondered what bodging was but were afraid to ask? The ancient art of wood turning revealed this Sunday. Plus, on the menu, some delicious spiced honey cake as we join Gilly Davis in the kitchen. That's Down to Earth, Sunday lunchtime, 12:30. BBC Wales on 1.
As part of the War and Peace season, Splendid Hearts in half an hour visits the small stone circle at St Carlos Bay in the Falkland Islands, both a memorial and a cemetery to the men who lost their lives in the conflict 10 years ago. This is BBC Wales on 2, batting on a sticky wicket. In the trenches, the only way is up for Captain Blackadder.
Good morning. You'll doubtless recognise the well-bred tones of Radio 4. What you won't recognise is our new Sunday morning schedule. From 11:15 until lunchtime, we'll be covering everything you'd expect of a quality Sunday paper. Radio 4, the quality Sunday you can listen to.
Is there any future for politics as we know it? Who were the winners? Who were the losers? What would it have been like without her? The Thatcher legacy, the complete picture. After Margaret, a week of programmes on BBC Two.
And now on BBC One from Birmingham, Question Time with Peter Sissons.
Good evening and welcome to Question Time. In the week that parliamentary hostilities are resumed and political minds start focusing on what direction John Major's government may chart after the frenzy of the conference season. But for our debate tonight, we keep our feet firmly on the ground and travel to Birmingham, heartland of the real economy. Around the table, Robert Key, who is the Minister for Roads and Traffic. Once a choir boy at Salisbury Cathedral and now MP for the city, he confesses to never losing his childhood passion for motor cars. Recently, he drove himself 700 miles on 10 motorways to see for himself how motorists were performing and was appalled. What I saw sometimes, he said, was frightening. Peter Mandelson has been the Labour MP for Hartlepool since the last election, but long before that he'd made his name as Labour's most famous spin doctor and image maker. Ken Livingstone, with whom until recently the most obvious thing he had in common was a moustache, has called him a cunning devil. More objective observers detect that he is still a key behind-the-scenes influence among Labour's modernisers. And today, incidentally, is his 40th birthday. The Right Honourable Alan Clark is a colourful former MP and junior minister, described by one commentator as a kind of walking encyclopedia of political incorrectness. Despite Lady Thatcher's long-awaited effort, many will not change their minds that Alan Clark's remains the most readable and indiscreet of recent memoirs. In them, indeed, he reveals that at one stage she said she would like her book to be written by him. His ability to generate strong feelings remains undimmed. Wrote Roy Hattersley, "I would not enjoy going on a tiger hunt with Mr. Clark." Victoria Glendinning has been described as one of Britain's most brilliant and glamorous feminist biographers, but her latest prize-winning tome was The Life of a Man, Anthony Trollope, the favourite of politicians from Macmillan to Major. She herself has strong views about politics, feeling bereaved when Labour lost the last election. She is self-effacing about her own art. No writer, she says, can give the sort of pleasure that a plumber does when he comes to unblock your drain. Let's have the first question from Ronald Payne, who's a company director. Sir.
We expect the police to protect the community. How should the police be protected themselves against the Connaught Street violence?
Alan Clark.
Well, every other police force in the world, I think, carries guns. And I know this has been resisted in this country for very many years. But I think most of the reasons for resisting it have, alas, faded almost out of sight. I don't think, and certainly you can't do it immediately because they need proper training and proper marksmanship and responsibility and so on. But I don't even then think that every policeman should carry a firearm. But I do think there is a case urgently for raising the level, raising the numbers of police who are authorised to carry them, because it simply isn't fair. They're not allowed. The Home Office bureaucracy restrains them from various other weapons, which are also current in many other police forces. And I don't think it is fair to ask them to go into the kind of situation in which the latest tragedies have occurred without being properly armed.
Peter Mandelson.
Well, the emotional reaction, which I share, I should think along with most people here and most people who are looking at the programme, is that we want the police protected by all means and every means possible. That's how I feel after what happened last night. But at the same time, I don't want our country to become like America. You know, where guns are chasing guns and violence is breeding violence, where there are so many murders. I think that would be the wrong road to go along, and I think that the police feel the same. If last night PC Dunn had been going and had known that he was going to investigate people or a house where drugs or drugs pushers were present, then I should hope that he would have been armed. You know, the drug scourge is one of the most terrible in our country now. It breeds so much crime in turn, so much violence. There are so many people out to get one another, competing with each other. They are a terrible scourge, the people who are pushing drugs, throughout every community. And certainly the police should have been armed if they had gone last night and in any similar circumstance. But to be routinely armed for their day-to-day work, no. The police don't want it, and I don't think we should go along that American route.
Victoria Glendinning.
I think I agree with that. I disagree very strongly with Alan. I think that every gun in a hand is a potential death. What I would rather see is a huge effort to control guns.